Hey, yo. What's up? It's Dominic D'Angelo. I'm of adfreeshows.com, SEScoops.com, and brassringmedia.com. Check it out. But today, you're checking me out. I'm flying solo. That's right. Robert had an emergency work appointment, so I am taking the reins by myself here to talk a little bit of that AEW Dynamite. Boom. Boom goes the Dynamite. Boom goes everybody. Let's say hi to some folks in the chat. Triple E says, what's up? What's up, Triple E? Devin Dowling in the house. Hey, yo. Hey, yo, Devin Dowling. Dre Owens. He also says hello, R&I. How about the women's tag team bracket for the AEW eye roll? Oh, interesting. Okay. We are going to talk about that today. And Wrestling Old Head has just joined in. He says, good day, R&I. Thank you all for tuning in. We're getting some folks filing on in, I can see, online on X. So if you're new to the show, welcome. Usually I have a partner here. His name is Robert Karplus. He's a former WWE writer, and we discuss the daily wrestling news. So I am a dirt sheet writer. I am a quote-unquote wrestling journalist, and I do a show with Rob Van Dam. I do a show with Bill Fonzie Alfonso. From time to time, I do a show with Greg Gagne Magnum TA, which will be coming back soon enough. And I do other stuff too. Plenty of interviews. You can see some of my previous work all across the wrestling world in some form or fashion sometimes. But let's talk a little bit of what went down on that AEW Dynamite. Oh, Devin asking where the facial hair is. Boom, I shaved it off. I was ready to new beginning here kind of going on. So wanted to get that beard. I know Movember is coming up where you grow the mustache. I could probably grow a mustache in a week. It won't be as bountiful as maybe I tend to make it, but we could see. Yeah, we'll have to see how things go. New girlfriend. So, no, not yet. We'll see if we find out how things go. Well, anywho, we do got some Dynamite to talk about, Devin Dowling, and all that are here. Let's chat a little bit. Let's go down this AEW Dynamite card. Overall, I'll say Dynamite was a pretty good follow-up in certain regards. However, there are some like treading water storylines that are going on that I'm very I'm unsure about. Like what's next for this and this is several aspects of the show, I will say. I did think they did a decent job. I'm curious. Who did say something? Oh, Dre. I'm curious, Dre. If you want to elaborate what you eye rolled about the AEW Women's Tournament, please feel free to and give your input. But I was kind of okay with a lot of how it got set up in certain ways. I thought they made some intriguing stuff, and they made the titles kind of feel sort of important. I felt, if there's. The big issue I have with AEW Dynamite is that they have so many titles, just in general, all over the place. Everybody's walking out with a championship title. Everybody has a belt on their shoulder or a belt around their waist, and you're just like, there's a lot of titles. Point is further hammered home by Mercedes Moné walking out with 13 championships. It's bonkers. It's a little bonkers right now. Oh, great point. I'm going to dog ear that one, Wrestling Head, when I elaborate a little bit more. But I do think that there needs to, I don't know, that you just cannot have that many titles on a show, it seems like. The AEW Women's Championship Tag Team Champions, though, like I said, they feel important, and this tournament feels like it's going to be pretty fun. So they got me a little amped up for it. I liked a lot. I like the pairings of women in the of who is with who and the potential matchups. Let's just go over that real quick and just take a look at the women's AEW Women's Tag Team bracket, tag title bracket. Let's see if I can pop it up here real quick. But we do have some fun ones, some fun matchups with like some fun partners. So we have on the left side, it's Jamie Hayter and Queen Aminata. They won that 4-way tag match, which I was pleasantly surprised by because I'm not a big fan of that type of match. but they told some neat elements, I think, to that fight, and they're going up against Julia Hart and Sky Blue. Now, I like Julia Hart and Sky Blue a lot. Like that presentation and entrance, I think this really got me amped up for the match more. Was Julia Hart and Sky Blue's entrance, because it's like there's some viability there. Like you can do more with them, and you know, the fact that they were a non-factor in the pinfall and the outcome of the match in general, and Jamie Hayter and Queen Amanada have some beef with these two. Um, I think you can kind of do some fun stuff where these teams ultimately cancel each other out in the grand scheme of it all. So maybe like Hayter and Amanada get the win, and then Julia Hart and Sky Blue later screw them over in the tournament as they advance. And I think that's a good way to kind of continue the feud between these four, and give them a little bit more opportunity. I don't know, to be on television and have a cool storyline cooking. Then we also have Mercedes Monet and Athena unexpectedly tagging up against one of my favorite pairings in Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron. Um, like, and so this is a rock and a hard place too, because I think it's a really, really neat, unexpected story that Monet and Athena are teaming up, um, and they want to set a new record, of what happens. However, you could make this, if you're doing the tournament stuff appropriately, you could have Willow and Harley win this match, and this plan ultimately gets spoiled, and then you create a feud between Monet and Athena, and then because Monet has the Women's World Championship already in lined up, which I think is it's a lot. And you're putting your two women in another difficult position with Chris Statlander, who just won that Women's World Championship, challenging Mercedes Monet, who ultimately lost recently to Toni Storm for that title, but she's known as, a 14 belt Monet baby at some point. She wants to be known as that. And this is an opportunity for her to lose again. I don't like that necessarily getting paired up and that happening. But if you create a way, I don't know, where Monet is costed the championship by Athena or something, or that Monet does win and then something moves on, but then Chris Statlander feels like a placeholder. So it's a tough situation to be in. What I do see happening is maybe Mercedes Monet and Athena advance, because that seems like but I really want Willow and Harley to be a good pairing, because they are fun and they're positive babyface. I almost think that they should be the ones to go to the finals here. And because I could see it kind of laying out maybe like Jamie Hayter and Amanada beating Julia Hart and Sky Blue, and then you have Willow and Harley winning, and then ultimately like Julia Hart and Sky Blue cost Jamie Hayter and Amanada in that round. They advance to the finals. And then you have maybe Penelope Ford, or no, Toni Storm and Mina Shirka. I don't know. It's a tough thing because you have baby faces on the other side now that I'm looking at a little bit more. I don't know. On the right side, we have Rio and Alex Winsdor. They're going up against Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa. And this will speak to maybe what Wrestling Old Head, I think, brought up in the chat here was, where's Deonna Purrazzo and where's Taya Valkyrie? Like, they have been vying for a spot like that. So it's disappointing they are not in the match. They are not listed. I would have put them in place of Rio and Winsdor, because like they have been friends. We've shown alliance between those two, but I mean, I think they're, you want to give different women a spotlight. Deonna and Taya have just been there, and there's been no sign of them. They've just been hanging out. So I think that would have been the one I would take out. Or you could have a situation where Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford, it's Penelope Ford who took the pinfall. I thought you could do something with this too, where Bayne gets so ticked off at Ford for losing this championship match that she attacks it. She's like, I don't want to be in the tournament. Bam. Then you can plug Deonna and Taya in there. So speaking of Penelope Ford and Megan Bayne, they're going up against Anna Jay and Ty Mello. I like that pairing too, as like a tag team. I think they would just create a good match, for the other side of things potentially. But who wins this? If you had to make me predict this early on, I'm gonna say Monet and Athena win this whole thing because I think there's I don't know. I think if you're going to give Monet all the belts, you just give her all the belts. You just give her all the belts and make it happen. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, the Renegade Twins. I completely forgot about the Renegade Twins. Are they on ROH? Let's see. Let's see. Man, a lot of good discourse already in the chat. Man, I'm like scrolling up. I really appreciate everybody contributing here. Draylon says it seems to be the same ladies over the last few months. No Thunder Rosa, great point. No Sheeta, Lady Frost, Nyla Rose, Serena Deeb, Deanna. I just think they could use the boost and establish someone. That's a very, very fair point, I think. We have seen a lot of these faces already. I think the issue is that a lot of these faces, even the ones that we are seeing, we don't see that much. Like they're there and then they're gone. They're there and then they're gone. They're a challenger. They lose and then they're gone. So I think AEW has a great women's roster, but it's just like, where has the focus been for this? These women. We've had a couple of them. Harley Cameron's been all over the place, been floating around and been a fun part of the show. But ultimately, like, we want to see not just her, but you do want to see this could have been a great opportunity for like women we haven't seen in a while, like a Nyla Rose and a Thunder Rosa and a Sheeta come back and be a part of this tournament. Or at the very least, you could have had qualifying matches up leading to, hey, who gets to get in the tournament here, and things like that, instead of it just being, hey, we have this fatal 4-way match. Let's have the winner decide who they're facing even before we announce the bracket. And they made that make sense, but I don't know. There's just, you kind of wish there would have been a little bit more attention to detail. So I'm with you on that, Dre Owens. And this was more of a point to, give a little bit different women a little bit more focus and stuff like that. So I completely understand what you said. Let's see. Devin Dallin says it should be Mina and Tony versus Athena and Monet in the finals, or else this is a waste. I don't know if it's necessarily a waste because, look, Tony Storm's been in the spotlight forever, and she's Teflon. So, and her pairing with Mina, it just feels like, okay, this is a vehicle for Tony right now. And that might seem like a money kind of match, and no pun not intended, but I just don't know if that's the best. I don't know. Like, if you want to build somebody up, like Willow and Harley on one side versus Athena and Monet, I guess you can't do that because they're on different sides. So never mind. They're on the same side. So that's not possible. So I guess you could do the finals that way. Let me see who's on the other side of the bracket again. Rio, Windor, Tony Storm. Yeah, well, I mean, with what's on the right side of the bracket, yeah, I'm with you. Now that I look at the bracket, I am with you. It's like, I think maybe this could have been laid out a little differently and things like that. But I mean, I like the pairings and stuff like that. Yeah, Devin Dowling mentions another one. Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa should be a team. Yeah, there could have been some good opportunity. The more that you guys are saying this in the chat, the more I'm kind of with you. Is like, you could have put some familiar faces back in the mix. And Britt Baker, Thunder Rosa, they're a perfect one that you could have done. Maybe we'll get some surprises still. Who knows? Maybe there'll be some pivots or some changes that we're not going to see yet. What team can't compete, and then you plug somebody else in. But great points, everybody. Great points. Let's continue going over the Dynamite results, though. However, so something that is clearly treading water is, sorry, my phone's vibrating. I'm trying to find a place to put it down. Clearly treading water is Jon Moxley, but I will say they tipped the nose back up of a story for Moxley that's kind of intriguing. So we're so used to Moxley, and Moxley's still trying to keep. So, and it kind of all makes sense when you take a step back and look at the whole arc of what happened with Moxley on the show, instead of taking it in segments, because we had Darby come out saying he's not done with the Death Riders, and they're not easy to take care of, but he will take care of them because he will die for AEW. Really, really powerful babyface promo that's short. Like, that's what was good. I like that it was short and he was to the point about it all. But I did have some concern because they need to move this thing along. And that didn't seem like they were moving this thing along when we saw the promo backstage with Moxley at the bathroom sink, kind of saying some stuff where he's like, "You beat me, it's not gonna happen. I know who I am," and all this stuff where we're just like, he's kind of mumbling, kind of hard to hear. Was not very captivated by that, but I became more captivated by the aspect of him versus Kyle O'Reilly, and Kyle O'Reilly not only giving him a run for his money, but ultimately winning the match because John Moxley found himself in a desperate moment where he literally hit the referee and gave Kyle O'Reilly the DQ win. While I'd ultimately have loved to see him just lose straight up to Kyle O'Reilly, Robert is not a fan of Kyle O'Reilly, but I really like Kyle O'Reilly. I think there's some quirky funness to him that could be exploited and taken advantage of a little bit more. And now with this conglomeration that's very much like a Full House kind of faction, there's some opportunity for that. So, yes, I think so what they ultimately, the story that they're kind of churning a little bit with the Death Riders, you're making me buy into it because I'm thinking that hopefully this is there's an end in sight for this faction, because I do think it's, if you continue rolling with this, like, oh, these guys are nasty, they're vicious, like the fact that you have their leader being this clear ass coward and cheating, like finding ways out of his matches, is good stuff because he's not confident in himself because he's quit several times. So I think if you ultimately give this as an out for Moxley to get out of there and get him away, I ultimately think Moxley's better as a babyface. And but then you do something different with the Death Riders, like just get rid of the faction altogether, because you're not benefiting anybody else in that faction by being there. You really aren't. You think about everybody that's involved. Pac, he just feels like a soldier, where if he came back, he could have been on the babyface side and been a neat adversary. Or Claudio, who I've always thought should be in the world title picture of AEW, has never even sniffed that, So he's been underutilized. Danny Garcia has just been jumping from tag babyface to heel, and after winning the TNT championship, it just doesn't feel important. Wheeler Utah is the fodder for the faction. And then Marina Shafir's, maybe she's the only one that's kind of been benefiting from this angle, ultimately, because she's getting a lot of TV time. But ultimately, this faction's not working. And what I ultimately saw in the grand scheme of Dynamite is maybe there's an end in sight. We'll see. We'll see. I look like a hobo, by the way. How I'm dressed. But okay, let's take a look at some other stuff. Harley Cameron and Britt Baker would have been a hilarious team. Yeah, they would. Yeah, I agree with that. Devin says, I like TJ, I like Hart and Blue, Ford and Bane, but we need more teams. I agree. Devin says, just watched the media scrum yesterday. Renee said Mox was cut up really bad by the shattered fish tank. Geez, I believe it. That's the other thing too. Moxley coming back and wrestling right after a brutal match like that. Darby didn't wrestle. Why was Mox wrestling? I understand you're telling the story and like this kind of thing, but like I would have put more of the story. It was like asking, why? How is Mox cleared to wrestle right now? He should not be wrestling. And like, oh, he's got an axe to grind and he's got something to prove. And then you have him cower out. I guess maybe if you did that, I would buy a little bit more. But it's like that was a brutal match. Like there should not. Like if anybody was like, hey, I want to wrestle again tonight, Darby could have done it, even though he got the crap beat out of him too. I just don't think it would have made sense for either of them to wrestle. Wrestling on his head. John Moxley started the Death Riders as a world beater badass. He's slowly turning into a weasel. Well, see, they angled it for that, but he never ultimately really felt like that. Like they felt like the Riot Squad. almost from the start, where it's just like there was a little intrigue at first because you're like, what's going on with this briefcase? What are their intentions? What does Moxley have planned? Who's going to be a part of like what is their next step? They're just going to run roughshod over everybody, and they really didn't. Like they didn't. So his world beater badass was kind of undercut by their actions. Then they changed the narrative on his character, and suddenly we can't win without the help from his crew. His new theme sounds like the Friends theme. I chuckled. Oh, I think you're thinking of Kyle O'Reilly, right? And the conglomeration. I know. I kind of like that vibe. I like that vibe. Death Riders is the Ravens flock of AEW. That's a great comparison. Yuta, Stevie Richards, and Daniel Garcia's Blue Meanie. How about that? Wow. Friend of the show, Blue Meanie. Robert Dink. Yes, Robert Dink. Death Riders should dissolve after Blood and Guts. 100% they should. 100% they should. I agree with you there. If you're going to just win his Blood and Guts, because I just don't want to wait long. I just want it to be over. Yeah, you should check out the video, Wrestling Old Head. It's the conglomeration video. It's fun stuff, actually. It is very like 1990s family sitcom kind of going on. All right. So here we go. Let's see what else we had on tap here. We had the trios match. That's what the whole show kicked off with, as a matter of fact, was the Ops, your trios world champions, taking on the Hurt Syndicate. Robert was excited because he thought you could build to a fun faction match like this. But here, they're just giving it to you right, very first thing, right after wrestling is this match, the Ops versus the Hurt Syndicate. And while, yes, the dynamic was fun, the match itself was kind of fun. Again, a treading water angle really occurred at the end here when you have Ricochet hop on the apron, distract MVP. He gets choked out. The submission win goes to my goodness, the Ops. And but we're back with the Demand versus Hurt Syndicate again. And the commentary team indicated that this was not over yet. It should be over. There is no reason to continue this. There is no reason. What should have happened is like Hangman maybe comes out, distracts Joe. They lose the trios championships, and then they go to the Hurt Syndicate. The Hurt Syndicate are your champs. And then maybe think about this. Since there's so many titles, you just get rid of them. I know they were just introduced not that long ago, but you got a lot of championships. And, if you want to make certain championships feel important, like the new AEW Women's Tag Team Championships, maybe get rid of the ones you're not really putting too much of a focus on, which I'll get back to that later. But I did think Joe's promo was really well done and spoke with conviction. And he makes that. I mean, he's just great. I like Joe a lot. Plus, he did the due diligence of putting over Powerhouse Hobbs in that promo, because the biggest victim of this heel turn is Powerhouse Hobbs, because he's been a baby face. He's been a heel so many times, like you can't keep track. And the fact that he takes a moment to kind of put Hobbs over in a humorous way helps out Hobbs as much as you can. And, Hobbs is trying to make the most of it as he can. I feel bad for him because I honestly thought he should be the one to, he should get a world title run here if you build him up right. But he's just been floating in the ether, just like a lot of these talents have. We just talked about the women's division in that too. So, but I did think Joe's promo was great. Also, no sign of Hangman, right? Did I miss him at all? I don't think he was on the show at all. I did jump from 2 to 2 while I was on my HBO Max app. So maybe I accidentally skipped over it, but from what I saw, I didn't see him. Talked about that Darby promo. Thought it was decent and well kept short and stuff like that. Talked about the women's 4-way tag team match. Enjoyed it for what it was and everything like that. And yeah, so then we had Chris Statlander and Harley Cameron. I thought was a pretty okay segment. Like, we're already getting Full Gear is Mercedes Moné and Chris Statlander. So Chris Statlander putting Mercedes through the cake, not once but twice, and Mercedes just being upset about it makes a lot of sense. But then this match, while Mercedes Moné should be your women's world champion, you set Chris Statlander up to potentially lose, or you set Mercedes up to potentially lose. Either way, it does not help either person ultimately at Full Gear. Like, you're putting one of them in a really bad spot because Chris Statlander just won this title not that long ago. And then Mercedes Moné really needs to win that title to validate her several other belts that she owns. She doesn't own the biggest AEW title, which is, according to your company, the biggest women's world championship there could possibly be in the world. Then what does it mean that she holds all these other belts, but she can't hold the big one? So you're putting them both in a bad spot here. But the segment was all right. John Moxley versus Kyle O'Reilly. I like the Kyle O'Reilly aspect of this all, and kind of what the story was told here. So I thought that was fine. Okay, we had Death Riders. Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, and Roderick Strong. Again, I like that the Death Riders lost because I hope this is a sign of things to come. But yeah, and then we just get a cluster of people. Kyle O'Reilly comes back out. We get Tomohiro Ishii mixing it up after the fact. So I did like it to that extent that, I love Orange Cassidy. I like Mark Briscoe. Roderick Strong, kind of as this reluctant friend, is okay for what it is, I think. But yeah, I think this really, though, speaks to how further irrelevant this Death Riders thing is getting. It just does not feel important. And, I want the dissension in the ranks to happen. I want this thing to ultimately break apart. Okay, speaking of treading water, we have Kyle Fletcher come out, your TNT champion, and brag that he, beat Mark Briscoe. Right now, if you're keeping score, it's 3-2 out of the 5 matches that they had, with Kyle Fletcher winning. So he says he's affirmatively done with Mark Briscoe. And then we have Mark Briscoe come out and say, like, hey, give me one more match. Come on. I heard you talking trash. I just need one more. And then Don Callis cuts almost like a Heyman-esque promo talking about Mark Briscoe's 10 kids, saying that they become a financial burden. And, like, it's putting, you in a bad position where the Don Callis family, they support everybody while you're becoming the financial burden. You are what everybody is expecting on. And he's like, so I'm going to tell you no. So I thought that was clever, but it's also like, why do you even have this segment? Like, it just seemed like to have Kyle Fletcher come out and talk. And I don't understand what they're going to do next year, because, Mark Briscoe challenging again. Then if he wins, it's 3-3. And then you have to have a 7th match. And if he wins, on top of it, he's the new TNT championship. So what are you going to champion? So what are you going to do? You're going to have ultimately Mark Briscoe beat Kyle Fletcher, who I thought you're going to make it maybe go on a run with this TNT championship. It's just very convoluted, head scratching, especially following up after, like, Mark Briscoe just had this match, like, that Kyle Fletcher was not even involved in. So, there we go. Just trying to see if I missed anything in the comments here. Oh man, they're talking about Married with Children. That's a great show, Married with Children. Al Bundy. Good stuff. Wait, let's see. Women's Blood and Guts is on November 12th. Tony Khan said there will be a men's match, but not a women. Oh my god. So we got like at least a half a month before Women's Blood and Guts takes place. Look, we only need one Blood and Guts. I don't even think you need a Blood and Guts in general. I think it's becoming more, I don't want to say like an albatross, but it's just like an unnecessary part of your show at this juncture. Like, you don't need an annual tradition of Blood and Guts. Okay. I get it that maybe you want to be like, well, we started kind of that War Games vibe first, and then WWE's piggybacked off of us by literally making War Games again. And so, but look, just steer away from it. Find something different. You don't need to put if you're going to have one, like, it's just like, it's an opportunity, I guess, to get some women over, but at the same time, too, it's just like, I don't know. It just seems kind of pointless. Kind of pointless. Now we have all these heel factions. It's just week in, week out. Like, there's stuff I really like about Dynamite and the talent that's on there, but there's other things that I can be critical of. And it's just like, where is this going exactly? And who is this necessarily helping? And who are we necessarily supposed to be getting invested in? Like, at this juncture, I feel in a way that I should be getting invested, like kind of enjoying what Kyle O'Reilly is doing. But how long is this going to last before it's just like, all right, well, he was just the flavor of the week, and let's move on. So it's just like with AEW, it's like you want to, especially early on, you wanted to get invested in the characters and the stars and who could be the next big star and things like that. But then AEW doesn't do itself any favors by not following up, on so many. All right, let's see. Wrestling Old Ed says, I'm not a fan of war games and blood and guts being annual. Yeah, make it once in a while, or make it when it feels like it makes sense, right? I say do away with the name Blood and Guts and call it the Match Beyond. If it's not trademark. Yeah, the Match Beyond, that's what it used to be called. So true that. Excuse me. Let me check the dirt sheets here. We did have a little promo. I like what they're doing with the Young Bucks. I thought that was fun with the they're still looking for, and the fact that they have to team up with FTR was pretty clever. So, like, we're getting Jurassic Express. Who are they teaming up with, Jurassic Express, in that four-person tag? I can't remember who it is. If somebody can, Jet Speed. That's who it is. Jet Speed. So it's Jet Speed, and we get a Tony Khan appearance actually on the show too. But yeah, that's happening on Collision, and Collision is not a show that gets tuned into. I know they're trying to do their best to get people to watch it, but it just at this juncture just feels like a huge afterthought, where it's just like I don't need to tune in to necessarily find out what's going on. But I mean, heck, that is quite the match, the Young Bucks and FTR teaming up. But am I gonna necessarily try to go out of my way to watch it? It's gonna be tough. I mean, I could tune in on HBO Max, but it's the weekend. There's a lot of factors going on. I don't watch SmackDown on Fridays, half the time. So it's just like I catch up later on. So that's the thing. Shocked TK wasn't at Gorilla during the show. Hey, guess who is here? Is my cat Razor. Can you come over here, Razor? Too apprehensive? He's too camera shy right now. But yes, Razor's in the background, right? He's literally right behind the computer here. All right. Let's take a quick look at the dirt sheets before we close on out here, and see if anything is cooking here that I have missed. Anything in particular I want to talk about? I'm not really seeing anything. Let's see. Guess Jelly Roll was the guest of Chris Van Vliet. That's a pretty intriguing guest. How about that? Razor is literally pawing at my banana cream soda that I have. Here's the fun story real quick about the banana cream soda, everybody. So I had a dream 2 nights ago that Troy Aikman, former Dallas Cowboys quarterback and current color commentator for ABC's Monday Night Football, me and him were in a forest, and I was drinking some kind of soda here. He's like, hey, you got to try this banana soda. He's like, try it. He gives it to me, and I was drinking it. Not a fan of banana stuff, but I knew we had a banana soda at Whole Foods, and so I got the banana soda, and I'm like, maybe that was a sign that I should drink banana soda. So that's why I'm drinking that. Razor almost knocked it over. Let's see. Killer Cross dropped another documentary in his series, and Darby Allin was in it. Yeah, I saw that Killer Cross had a documentary drop going on. I think it was during Dynamite, was it not? Let's see what he had to say, because I think he said that he got worked. He thinks he got worked by WWE. So let me see what he says here. Killer Cross says he was the one getting work. Speaking on his One Big Work documentary, Cross stated it was all work, but not how fans believed. Is this all a big work? Is that what you're asking me? Is this a work? Is this big, elaborate, intricate work where I come back and say surprise? The answer to that question is, in a sense, yes, this was all one big work. Worst part about it, though, is that it's not the work everybody thought it was because I was the one getting worked. So, yeah, I mean, from how it seemed, everybody was curious. Hey, is this all big work and is Cross really in cahoots with WWE and coming back? And will he be, a big star in WWE? Will they re-sign him? And that did not actually happen. So I think Cross really put his cards out on the table and was like, hey, yeah, this is what's happening. Look at me. So he did his due diligence of kind of making the case for him to obviously stick around, but at the same time too protecting himself and adding to his value on the free agent market by saying what he said. So I mean, I don't necessarily know, how WWE was working him, and if he went into further detail about that on the documentary. But I will say that, I think he dotted his I's and crossed his T's in a unique, um, innovative, and risky fashion by doing what he did. So, good on him because I mean, like people talk about him on the indie scene, like and stuff like that. It's just, yeah, it's a shame that like they don't. He doesn't. Razor is literally knocking over. Trying to knock over one of the lights I have. So I'm just gonna hold it. But so like him just going off on his own. Like I would love to see like more fan support for Cross after the fact that he left. And he still gets some for sure. But hopefully he'll just create some more value for himself on the indie scene. Ultimately, we'll see how it goes. Um, but cool. I guess that will do it for me today. If you're a fan of Rob Van Dam, RVD and we are going to go live Monday night. Monday night. So probably 9:15 p.m. So mark your calendars and get ready. Go to rvdtv.com. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and get ready for a fun conversation. As a matter of fact, you guys will get the first reveal. We have a special guest coming, and it's one that RVD had indirectly been had some controversy with. So, not this person in specific, but what happened around this person. Doug Malo will be the guest. If you're not familiar with Doug Malo, he actually is the person who saved Psycho Stu from the Raja attack. And so Rob caused a lot of social media ire by his comments on that situation initially. And, so we're going to have Doug Malo on, is what's scheduled. I'm sorry, he's going to be on Thursday when we do our second recording. Monday will be me and Rob. Jeez, way to blow it, Dom. Damn it, Dom. Okay, but it will be fun. So get ready for the return of Mr. Monday Night, as Wrestling World properly says. So thank you. But yeah, also big stuff to come with Robert and I. We are going to be on a bigger platform starting next week. So I'll implore everybody to start tuning into that channel, and you'll still be able to interact live and everything like that. It's just going to be a different channel. We're still going to be on ad free shows and still part of all that ecoscape, but just another platform that we're trying to really kind of cultivate and feel like a big deal because it helps us out. It helps us out. It will ultimately help Robert and I out. So stay tuned for that. That will be happening. I'll probably do the announcement with Robert tomorrow about that. So gives you some extra incentive to tune in tomorrow. But like you do every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch us at WD Creative _ish X account, at the Dominic D'Angelo X account, at the SC Scoops X account, at Oh You Didn't Know YouTube, at Free Shows YouTube, and at Rumored Innuendo YouTube. So on behalf of Robert, who's not here, on behalf of Razor, who is sitting behind my computer right now, Best of luck in your future endeavors, and we'll keep the light on for you. See ya.